nope, this is not going to get my attention today because it's not a part of my established intention for the day. Welcome! I am your host, Taryn McCarthy, and this is the Business of Happiness podcast. I am so excited to have you here with me today. Thank you so much for joining me last time for the impact of gratitude. I hope you found some value in that message. And if you've had the opportunity to incorporate some new gratitude practices in your life, I hope that you found some great impact in your life and in your week this far. I am so eager to be sharing with you another powerful tool, and that is the power of intention. And next week, we are starting off my very first two-part series, and I look forward to sharing with you the 3 permissions of personal empowerment. That's a big deal. It's a really awesome 2-part series, so I look forward to you joining me then. But for today, this is the power of intention. And right off the bat, I'm going to hit you with a statement and see how it lands for you. Something I believe strongly in, and that is that happiness is intentional. That's true. And also, the other part of that is true as well, is that intention and setting intention brings happiness. So 2 different statements, both very true. So let's dive in, and I'll tell you a little bit about a personal story of how I really understood and came to value the power of intention. I think I've shared with you before that my husband and I love to travel. It's one of our greatest values. We love exploring. We love being outside. We love hiking and being out in nature. We love taking our children to experience other cultures. It's a big part of our value system. We'd rather put our funds in that direction than in any kind of personal material things. But we decided one year to go to Iceland, which I know is a fabulous, fabulous place to go. And Killian and I went in February. We wanted to go in the winter. That was a goal of ours, to see Iceland in the ice. And anyway, we didn't take the kids along that time. It was a very busy winter. We went on this fabulous trip, and I was miserable. I came back and did not enjoy the trip at all. Now, I know you've heard me talk about this before, about not enjoying vacations, but, I think that's an eye-opener for any of us. When you realize I'm having trouble feeling happiness when I'm in a beautiful setting. What's going on here? I think that's one of the first keys to give you the lesson that happiness is a mindset. It's not what happens to you. It's all within your own mindset. So let me tell you about Iceland. What ended up happening on the trip was it was gorgeous. It was adventure. We did hiking in glaciers. We swam in these beautiful thermal pools. My husband loves photography. Actually, this image behind me, if you're watching me on YouTube, is an image he has taken on another fabulous trip of ours. But Killian was obsessed with taking these photos of beautiful glaciers and the way the light hit the ice and the black beaches. I don't know if you've ever seen these incredible black beaches. So he was living his best life, and I was miserable. And in turn, he became miserable, because it's no fun to be on a holiday with somebody who's in misery. And what we realized was we hadn't been honest with ourselves or with each other about our intentions for the vacation. Now, I know that does not sound sexy. We tell ourselves we shouldn't have to set an intention for a vacation. But look at how different that holiday would have been if I could have voiced my intentions before we got on the plane. If I could have said to him, look, I'm really eager to go to Iceland to look at some beautiful glaciers, to hike on some beautiful glaciers, and then to snuggle up by a cozy fireplace in the evening. And Killian could have said, well, I really am eager to just take photos all day long. And we're going to stand in one place and not move, but I'm going to get all the best photographs that I possibly can. See how those are not aligned. We could have been very clear with each other ahead of time. What ended up happening was me just martyring my time and then stewing in the background, really resenting him for making me sit in the cold and watch him take photos. We could easily have designed this vacation slightly differently. And had I known what his intention was, I could have supported him in that and maybe brought a great book for me to read. I love to read. I could have done that in a nice warm car while he was taking photographs. And he could have enjoyed it to its fullest and then come with me on a great glacier hike. See how just being honest with each other, but more importantly, with ourselves about the intention would have set us up for success and happiness on that trip. And the same is true in business. 100%. Business is so much more successful if you can be clear on your intentions. Intentions created everything. Nothing around us wasn't created without clear intention. And that's the first thing I want to say about intention. It establishes clarity. It gives us an image of what we have in mind, but also everyone else around us if we share that, right? It's such a great way to really be focused on what you want. It can be in the moment, in the hour, in the day, for your career path, but setting an intention really establishes that clarity and forces you to focus where your attention is going to be. And what better way to set yourself up for success? I have another travel example I want to share with you, and that is a really beautiful photograph that Killian took of me. And I'm standing on top of this mountain looking over this beautiful lake. It's called Lake Bled in Slovenia. And the image is of me on top of the mountain overlooking this lake. So just picture that in your mind, if you will. I love that image because if we think about what my intention would be, you can see the power it lends to the resources I'll need in order to follow through. This is what I'm about to say. Standing on the top of the mountain, if my intention is to get to the bottom of the mountain, then I know what I need to do so. So I'm probably going to need some hiking boots, some water, depending on how long it's going to take me to get down. Maybe there's some technical aspects that I need, some ropes for belaying. So I know I'm going to need a backpack. And these are the tools I'll have in my backpack and the right shoes to get me there. But if my intention is to then swim across the lake, so hike down the mountain and swim across the lake, now I'm going to need a whole different set of tools. Maybe I won't wear the same boots I was planning on. Maybe my shoes will look different knowing I'm going to have to swim across the water. Or maybe I know I'm going to have to hire a boat at the bottom of the mountain. So before my hike, I would have scheduled someone to meet me there so that I could get brought across the lake and then get to the other side of the lake and celebrate my success. But I couldn't do those things without really knowing the intention. And I think this is where we can really set ourselves up for success in anything we do. I've broken this down even to dinner time. What is my intention in this dinner time? And, this is a challenge in this day and age. We get bombarded with so many opportunities to split our attention, to really dilute our intention by cell phones and, the telephone itself ringing or the news or thoughts that have been chugging along in our head all day long, that we forget about the actual intention of the moment. And really, if we can just hone ourselves in and say, what is my intention right now? We establish a certain expectation for ourselves that's actually achievable. So not only does intention establish clarity, it establishes expectation with anybody around us, but mostly from ourselves. It also allows us to focus and where to put our attention. It also gives us a goal. Now, happiness itself is one of those things that's difficult for anybody to describe. But what if you could ask yourself, what is my intention? Can I establish a goal? If I fulfill that goal, won't I feel great? So really looking at happiness more as satisfying yourself. But satisfaction can't be achieved unless we establish the expectation, unless we establish the intention. You know, I don't know if you've had days like these where you've had an unexpected day off or plans fell apart and you've had some hours where you could do whatever you wanted. And all of a sudden, as you're getting ready in the morning, you start establishing that list, the list. Many business leaders and many very successful people love lists. We love checking off boxes. That feels so good in the moment, right? To finish a task, finish a task, finish a task. And sometimes, I know you've done this before, but sometimes we'll be so enjoying the checking off of boxes that as we're checking boxes, we're creating more. And then at the end of the day, how many of you have heard yourself say, I got nothing done today? Oh, I got nothing done today. I heard myself say that so often. And if I reflect back on what actually happened that day, I just didn't intend for myself to do the things I did. And then when I wanted to feel a sense of fulfillment, I couldn't find it because I hadn't been clear on what my intention was. You know, even going into work now, as I go to work, it feels so good to remind myself of my intention for the day. And when I do that, I can also, as the day goes by, allow other things to fall away. Nope, this is not going to get my attention today because it's not a part of my established intention for the day. It allows me to say no. It allows me to not look at my personal email if I've established that I just want to be present with my patients in that day. It allows me to not do administrative things if I've allowed myself the intention of just being with my patients for the day. Or perhaps in that day I've decided, no, this is the day I'm doing administrative tasks, and then I can let all the other things go. The value of that is enormous because then when we come home from work, that's a new intention. For this new segment of my life, I'm going to establish a new intention. My intention now is not to bring work with me. My intention when I come home is to be fully present with my children. And just by acknowledging that, it gives me permission to do so. It gives me direction. It reminds me the tools I need to start putting in that backpack so that I can achieve my goal. And then how good it feels when I get there to reflect and say, yeah, I did it. And that, my friends, feels like happiness. That feels like fulfillment when you can do that. The other magic of establishing intentions is that it helps you when you get to roadblocks along the way. So let's go back to my position on the top of the mountain looking over Lake Bled. If I were to get down and notice that there's a big old boulder in the way, and I hadn't planned on a boulder being there, but I know that my goal is to get to the bottom of the mountain, well, I still have that goal in mind. I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to climb over it. As opposed to getting to the boulder and throwing my hands up in the air and saying, well, here you go. I'm not hiking today. I've got nowhere to go. This boulder's turning me around. I guess this was a sign. Do you see how having your intention just establishes that goal and gives you the strength to figure out how to still get there? I know that this has happened at work for many of you, where if you just had an established intention, those roadblocks that came at you that were out of your control, you might have been able to see differently. So let me give you an example from work from me. My partner and I, my business partner and I decided years ago that we really valued a certain treatment technique. And we kind of went all in on it because it established a lot of the same values for our practice and for our patients as we had for ourselves. So we knew that it would be addressing certain things that really mattered to us and for the mission of our practice. And one day we had a family member of a patient, a parent of a patient, who adamantly disagreed, did not want to do it this way. And we tried to explain why this really was the best course of action for his daughter. And, after having this little bit of it was a heightened argument. It wasn't something that I was becoming passionate about, but the father was feeling very angry. So it raised all of the tension in the room for a little bit. I stepped away when I was able to leave the conversation. And because we had been able ahead of time to establish a clear intention for our business decision, I could reflect on that and remind myself of the importance of our decision and give myself courage to follow through with what we had already decided to do. I didn't have to have that man ruin my day or second guess my business decision because I could return to the intention we'd already established. This is a really magical place in business when you can join your intention with your values. It really sets you off for solid ground to stand on and to bring your vision for your business forward. When you know that you have set an intention in a place of good, of positive intention, then you know that you can take that forward and bring it in under any circumstances, even if there's adversity, even if there are boulders in your way. Because I know that when my intention is rock solid, when I've clearly defined that intention for myself, nothing can stand in my way. When I know that it's backed up with my values. So I hope I've showed you a little bit today about the power of intention. It has changed so many aspects of my life. If I remember to do it, and when I get off track, I remind myself, oh yeah, I haven't set a great intention for right now. Let me just remind myself why I am doing this in this moment. What is my intention? And let me tell you, it's made a huge difference in our vacations. We even do that with the kids. All right, let's just understand the expectations of the weekend here. What is your intention? What is my intention? And how can we make them both meet this weekend so that we all feel fulfilled? Once again, thank you for sitting and enjoying this podcast with me. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Thank you to so many of you who have reached out to me with more questions and with more topics that you'd love to hear us discuss on this podcast. I am just enjoying this journey so much, and I'm so grateful to you for being on the journey with me. Join me again next week. I'm excited to bring for you the 3 permissions of self-empowerment. And until then, today is going to be a great day.